Hey guys, it's Kimberly. Haven't talked to you in a while. Please excuse the way that I look, but after I kind of tell you the week that I had, you'll kind of understand why I don't really feel like doing my hair, anything like that. Today I am 26 weeks and 2 days, and okay, I'll just tell you everything that I've been going through. I went to the doctor on January the 8th. In the middle of the night, that night before, I had gotten this really bad pain. I went to lay down in the bed, and it was a really bad pain at the top of my stomach. It almost felt like a rip and a burn all at the same time. It scared me enough that I didn't want to go back to sleep because I wanted to make sure that I was indeed okay. So I stayed up for a while. Then I called my OB office and told them about it. Also had a lot of swelling in my hands and in my feet that just were not seeming to go away no matter if I propped them up, anything like that. So anyways, they said they wanted me to come into the doctor's office just to check to make sure everything's okay. So I ended up going into the doctor's office, and my mom went with me. We talked about the really strange pain. My blood pressure was up really high, and my pulse was extremely high. If you know, your pulse is supposed to be between like 90 and 96. That's like a normal range when you're just kind of resting. Mine was 153. So my pulse was like skyrocket. So they let me just kind of sit there up on the table for a while, not move around, so they could take it again to see if it would slow down any. So anyways, the pulse was still a little high after resting for a few minutes. So they started talking to me about taking some blood and running some tests. So they did take my blood and they ran some tests. They were checking for things that have to do with your liver, because of the pain. The symptom that I had was making them, want to look for that. So they took blood and they ran some tests, and so they sent me home. I got a call the very next morning. They said that the blood work did not say what they would want it to say, so I needed to come back in. Sorry, the window's open. So I ended up going back to the doctor's office. They took my blood pressure and my pulse again. My blood pressure was still high. My pulse was still high. It was 142 that time, which is still high for your pulse. Then they had one of the doctors come in. I talked to one of the doctors. He looked me over, asked me a bunch of questions, this and that and the other. They also said they found protein in my urine. So I just had all these things that were happening all of a sudden, that was making them think that maybe it was the preeclampsia, which, if you don't know what that is, it's pretty scary. Like, I've heard the word before, but I didn't know all the details about it. So of course, it was a pretty serious thing. So they sent me home. They said, go home, pack a bag, go to the hospital. So of course that makes you nervous in itself. So I came home and sorry. So I came home and packed a bag, got an overnight bag together, and went to the hospital. Went to the women's labor and delivery area, and got checked in, and they took a whole bunch of blood and it was a nightmare because I have like really teeny tiny veins, and these actually look good compared to what they did look like. But I don't know if you can see these bruises that I have. They actually ended up calling in the IV team. I didn't even know they had something like that, but it's people that specialized in poking people. That's all they do. So anyways, they ended up taking a bunch of blood and hooking up an IV, and by this time I was having contractions. I was having contractions about every 3 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't know if it was everything that was going on or, or what. So anyways, so here's the thing, is there's medicine that they can give you to make your contractions stop, but when you have pulse as high as I did, they can't give you the medicine because that medicine makes your pulse go up. So they started giving me liquid in an IV just to see if they could overhydrate me, because they said sometimes if that works that it will bring the contractions to a halt. So while I was in that little area and they were doing all this, I did 2.5 bags of water, and everything kind of happened really quickly. I'm in this room and they're saying, okay, because we found protein in your urine, we got to do a 24-hour urine watch, which is like every time you go to the bathroom, you have to collect it and put it in this container. And they kept coming back for more blood and running all these tests. And, I'm trying to stay calm. I was in there for, I don't know, a good hour and a half. So after that, they ran blood work, and then they came back in the room and said, okay, we don't see the protein in your urine now, so we're not going to do that 24-hour urine test. So I was thankful for that. She said, hold on, everything's a little bit of a blur. She came back and said that the blood work looked a little bit better, but there were still some things that they were concerned about. So they were checking me in. So then I get checked in and wheeled up to labor and delivery and actually put in a room. And in this room, of course, they came back and took more blood and continued to do the water. And, we sat there and watched the contractions on the monitor. So it ended up, after all that, not being the preeclampsia. I ended up staying 2 nights. So, because just one thing kept connecting to another. So anyways, by the time I had left, they had already done ultrasound on the babies to make sure that the babies were okay with everything that was going on. They did an ultrasound of my gallbladder, because they said where I was having the pain, it could also be your gallbladder. My iron was still low. I'm anemic, so they were making sure my iron was kept in my body. And then because my pulse was racing so much, even with me sitting there doing absolutely nothing in the hospital bed, my pulse was jumping from like 129 to 138, which was insane. So I ended up having to wait a really long time for a cardiologist to come in. So a cardiologist comes in and she's listening to everything, and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to have this other doctor come in. And so they did a couple tests on my heart, and they did ultrasound of my heart to make sure all the valves were working correctly, and and all of that. So anyways, I ended up staying for 2 nights, and it was not any fun. It was a very long 2 days, and but they came back saying that everything was okay, that everything they saw in the original blood work had changed. So they ended up putting me on a very low dose of a blood pressure medicine that they said that if that works, then that should also lower my pulse rate. So they are going to start keeping a really close eye on my blood pressure and everything, because I don't know if some of you know, but if you get the preeclampsia, or if you can't get your blood pressure under control, then they go ahead and they take the babies, and we don't want that to happen because they're only 26 weeks. So they're still, got a lot of developing to do. So anyway, so I ended up checking out of the hospital 2 nights. So that third day, ended up checking out. We got out just in time for the rush hour traffic. Now, right before I left, the nurse comes in and says, okay, your potassium is low, so we also want to make sure that, you keep your potassium up. She said, I need you to start eating bananas and anything. But she comes in there with this big old vitamin, potassium vitamin. And because of all the tests that was running and this and that and the other, I could either eat or it would be a long time. It'd be like 6-7 hours in between my meals. So I was pretty miserable, and my body was pretty miserable. I'm sure the babies were hungry. So I wasn't on like a normal eating schedule, so my stomach wasn't as full as a pregnant woman's stomach should be. So anyway, she gave me this potassium pill, and we checked out, and we get about 10 minutes from the hospital, and I start having these hellacious stomach pains. My stomach just was tightening up so hard, and it was freaking me out because we had just left the hospital, and I didn't know if it was contractions. But then I started thinking, maybe it's that pill. They gave it to me on an empty stomach. I haven't eaten in hours. So my husband's sitting there going, do we need to go back? Do we need to go back? Well, I didn't want to go back for, every reason you can think of. So, I started feeling nauseous. So I, cracked the window of the, the truck, and I'm sitting there, and I'm almost in tears. I mean, that's how bad my stomach was hurting. I wasn't having like menstrual cramps, which is what they told me that I need to really look for. But my stomach was hurting so intensely bad. So I told my husband, I said, just go somewhere, any exit, I need to get some food in my stomach. So he ended up getting off the next exit, and we ended up getting some food. It took me an hour just to eat because I'm sitting there and I'm just rubbing my stomach while I'm eating because I'm in so much pain. And like I said, it took me an hour, and after, I would say about 30 or 40 minutes, it finally started to just ease off a little bit. But the whole time we're sitting there, my husband's looking at me in a complete panic, like, we're going to have to go back. And so we ended up sitting there until I was just ready to get up. And so we ate, we come home, and I've just been trying to rest. And here's the kicker is, after going through all of that, and as you know, you don't get any rest in a hospital. They're constantly coming in, giving you medicine, checking your blood work, taking blood, taking your blood pressure. So you don't get sleep. So I was pretty mentally, physically, emotionally, everything tired. The very next day was my baby shower. So, which I was, the whole time I'm in there, I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to miss my baby shower. I've waited all this time. So anyways, the next day I ended up going to my baby shower, and it was a lot of fun. I did a lot of sitting. I kind of socialized when I first got there and was telling people, thanks for coming or whatever, and then I just kind of had a seat, took it easy. I did have some really small contractions while I was there, but they told me what to look out for, and they eventually just kind of went away. But that was a really crazy day. And so finally, when I got to bed Saturday night, I think I slept the longest that I've slept since I've been pregnant. I was so exhausted. And so right now I am trying to rest as much as I can. Of course, I'm having to do the normal exchanging of the baby shower stuff, because some people, which I totally get, you know, they see an outfit and they go, oh my god, it's so cute, and they buy it and they don't think, okay, the babies are not going to be wearing any winter clothes until they're like between 6 and 9 months, and they got like 0 to 3 months. So I have to do that kind of stuff, and I'm taking my blood pressure medicine, and I have a specialist appointment on the 21st, and then I go back to my OB on the 29th. So they're going to start to see me every 3 weeks now. So hopefully when I go back to my OB, maybe my blood pressure is different, my pulse is different. You know, I really hope so. So I will keep you guys up to date. I'm going to try to put some pictures of my baby shower up. I haven't figured out exactly how you do that on the YouTube thing yet, but I'm going to try to do that just so you guys can just see that after everything, you know, I did have some laughs and smiles. So anyways, thanks for listening to me blabber. Thank God I don't have preeclampsia. I hope none of you mommies out there get it either, because it's pretty serious for you and your babies. It's life-threatening, so it's nothing to joke about. So anyways, hopefully I will not look like this the next time that you see me. So hope you guys are doing good, and I'll see you guys as soon as I'm able to do another video. Thanks guys. Bye.